Hey, so the RTX 4070 12GB is out today, and it's actually looking like a pretty good deal, all things considered. Now, what kind of PC would I build if I was going to use an RTX 4070 in early 2023? So here is my recommendation for what kind of system you should build. So let's take a look at the parts list really briefly, and then I'll go over the parts a little bit one by one, and then I'll give a conclusion to my thoughts at the end. I've made a list here on this spreadsheet detailing the parts that I've chosen for our theoretical 4070 build, and I think it's a pretty good mix of components delivering balanced performance and good compatibility. And overall, balance doesn't always have to mean compatibility. Balance has to do more with, are these parts a good match for each other in terms of performance level? And I think this fits the bill. So overall price is around 93,115 pesos. And now this doesn't include the price of Windows, the monitor, or the other peripherals like your mouse and keyboard, because that usually depends on the person's needs, just like any other PC build. So I left that out. So this is just the cost of the tower itself, like the stuff that you put in the box, basically. So starting off with our first component, really the star of the show, the RTX 4070. Now, this is the Zotac Gaming Twin Edge OC model that a lot of the retailers today here in the Philippines have started posting. This is the card that you will most likely be getting, because we don't really get the Founders Edition cards like the ones in this photograph with the flow-through cooler in the Philippines. These are normally sold in the United States through Best Buy, usually. So yeah, we don't get these. Instead, this is the first one that we're seeing out in the wild. So it's a 2-slot card. It's got 4 display outs, so it looks like 3 DisplayPort and 1 HDMI. So you could totally run multiple monitor setup with this. This is what it looks like on the back. That's the back plate. And yeah, RTX 4070. This is a great card for 1440p high refresh rate gaming today and a little bit tomorrow. As we all know, the issue right now with the graphics cards is the VRAM budget, and 12 gigabytes for a card of this caliber. A lot of the reviewers are saying that it's pretty much the minimum now. 8 gigabytes is not looking like it's it for a lot of any graphics cards moving forward, which is why a lot of people are complaining that the 3070 having only 8 gigabytes back in 2020 made it age a lot worse than some of the other cards that were competing against it. So yeah, but I mean, overall, despite that whole can of worms about the VRAM, the 4070 is the star of the show. The MSRP for this is around 39,500 pesos. So this is what you expect to see out there in the wild. Oh, let's turn off dark mode. That doesn't look very good for you guys. The i5 13600KF processor. It is a 14-core, 20-thread CPU. This is a beast when it comes to gaming and also for content creation. Afforded to it by the extra E-cores, the efficient cores that help the P-cores or performance cores do the heavy lifting. So this is an easy recommend from me. We chose to go with the F SKU, meaning it doesn't have integrated graphics, because, well, we're going to be doing gaming mostly on a system like this. The only other advantage that you get from having an integrated graphics processor on the Intel chips is the access to QuickSync, which usually has applications in video editing or streaming, but that might not be that important for most people, and we can save a few bucks by going with the KF SKU. And up next for our cooler, we went with the DeepCool AK620 tower style cooler. And I like this for the main reason that it is kind of like the legendary Noctua NHD15 dual tower cooler, but at a much more affordable price. This is priced at 3,800-ish pesos. And yeah, for an i5 of this caliber, you'll be able to use it quite well for gaming and such. And yeah, I've used this before in other builds, and I think it's great. And I think it looks pretty nice too. There are other options you can pick. For instance, you can pick the all black version, which also looks pretty nice. This competes more directly against the D15, well, the Chromax black one at least. Yeah, so expect to pay a little bit more for this, but you know, if you're into that all black stealthy look, this is a great choice. Now for the motherboard, we are going with the Asus TUF Gaming B660M plus Wi-Fi D4. Now, before you kill me in the comments, yes, we are going with a B660 chipset for this build. Number one, because it's cheaper. Number two, the kind of person doing mostly gaming on this kind of system, it doesn't really do the overclocking most of the time. So, you know, we might as well just save a little bit of money where we can in a build that is kind of more premium like this. So that's why we went with a B660 board rather than a Z690 board. So yeah, and the feature set is still pretty good. So having a look at the board, it's a micro ATX form factor, not as big as your typical ATX, but it's got a lot of good features. And yeah, it's got 4 DIMM slots. On the side here, it's got an integrated I/O shield. Speaking of which, this is what the I/O on the back looks like. We have a ton of USB ports. Over here, we have some display out, but since we're doing a dedicated graphics card with the RTX 4070, we're not really going to use these. But if your processor did have integrated graphics, this is where you would plug it instead of the graphics card. If you're not running a graphics card. And 2.5 gigabit LAN, which is great to see. Wi-Fi 6 antennae go here, and your audio outs on the back of the motherboard. This is the shape of the Wi-Fi antenna that comes with this motherboard, so it's gonna make your build look a lot more sharky overall. Now for our RAM, we went with this kit of 32 gigabytes, DDR4, 3600 speed, CL18, fast latency RAM from G.Skill. The Ripjaws 5 kit. This is a nice and simple RAM kit that we went with. I use the same kit in a couple of my other systems that I have. And nice and no frills RAM kit. We didn't go with DDR5 because over here in the Philippines, DDR5 motherboards and the RAM are still a bit on the pricier side. Whereas if you go with, you know, DDR4 as a platform and go with DDR4 RAM modules, it's pretty much cheaper in most regards. So yeah, that's the reason why we went with DDR4. I'm aware that you can get some, you know, a little bit of uplift in your gaming when you do go with faster RAM, but most people aren't going to be that big of a stickler for faster RAM afforded by the DDR5 platform. So for most people, DDR4 is just going to be fine. And yeah, we all have a good deal. And DDR4 is the cheapest that it has been ever. So yeah, it's actually a great time to build a PC with DDR4. And for storage, I went with this Aorus NVMe Gen 4 SSD. It's 1 terabyte. I'm not actually sure if the one that I picked for our build has that particular heatsink, that copper thing we were seeing earlier, but yeah, for this kind of build, I do typically recommend to go with 1 terabyte as a starting point, because you know you need a place to put your files, your media, your games. Games have gotten quite a lot bigger in the last decade or so. Last I checked, games like Red Dead Redemption, 100 plus gigabytes. Call of Duty, if that's the kind of game you play. Warzone was at one point like almost 200 gigs for that game. It's probably improved now, but you get the point. You want to be able to install a decent amount of games with your system without having to buy any additional internal storage. So that's why we went with the Gigabyte 1 terabyte Gen 4 SSD for our build, and it's got pretty good speeds. I checked the spec sheet, so let's click the specs real quick. It should be around, yeah, it's pretty fast. This is a fast SSD when it comes to our Gen 4 speed. So read speeds of up to 5 gigabits per second and sequential write speeds of 4.4 gigabytes per second. So yeah, great drive. It provides, a nice modern experience when it comes to fast storage. And yeah, this is great. We could have saved a bit of money by picking something cheaper. We could probably even pick like a Gen 3 drive to save maybe 1K, 2K. But honestly, in this price tier, I think this is a totally reasonable thing to spend on. The power supply unit that we'll be using for this build is the Corsair RM750. This is supposed to be the RM750E, but this is what Google sent me. This is pretty much what you're getting. 750 watt power supply for a build like this. Actually, it will surprise you that I checked the Tech Power Up listing here for the RTX 4070, and the recommended PSU wattage is only 550 watts, which is crazy to me. But that's because the TDP of this card is only 200 watts. So very efficient card for the amount of performance that we're getting. The reason why I did go with the 750 watt power supply anyway was to give ourselves the headroom to be able to expand to a beefier graphics card. You might not be putting like, a 4090 on this, but a 4080 could run on this thing. This is nice because it is a fully modular power supply. So you've got this area here where you plug the wires in and you plug in only what you need. So this is great. This is a great space-saving tool for us as we build our PC by only plugging in the cables that we need. And finally, with our build internal components all figured out, we are going to go with the H510 Flow from NZXT. I think this is a pretty solid mid-tower case that you can get in 2023 onwards. So we all know that NZXT cases are pretty popular. They have this very iconic look to them, and the H510 Flow is no stranger to that same aesthetic that we've seen. So it's this thing here, this like cable management plank. What do you call this? I can't remember what the term right now, but yeah, there's this cable management thing here, and it's got the basement. The biggest change that they've made to this case style over the years is adding this perforated front panel. And this is what's going to allow us to have the best airflow that we possibly can in a case like this. So yeah, this is great. Airflow is all the rage, but at the same time, we got that tempered glass because we want to protect our components, but at the same time, we want to admire them. And yeah, this is like nice, solid case all around. Can happily recommend this to anyone who's building a PC for the first time. Now, you can spend less, but I think for a simple, straightforward build, an H510 Flow is great for most people. Yeah, and here's a look at the back. Some nice cable management channels here. Some areas where you can put SSDs, and there's even a cable channel up here for your CPU supplemental power. So yeah, this is great. I see down here we have a hard drive cage. Still pretty common today, even though a lot of people don't really use hard drives per se anymore. But yeah, you do have the option. Down here is where your power supply goes. Yeah, H510 flow. Pretty good case. And we are spending 4,680 pesos for this one. All right, so this is the list. Take a good look at it. This is like my my little notes on the side of what I think about each of these parts. I think this is, again, like I said in the beginning, this is a pretty good balance of price to performance. This is necessary. This is a high-end build. If you want to see what a mid-range, more affordable kind of gaming PC looks like, we can have that for a separate video. But if I were building a high-end PC today that had decent staying power to be able to play a lot of games in 1440p and a little bit of 4K, this is the PC that I would build. The RTX 4070, again, is the crown of this build. 12 gigabyte VRAM buffer. Okay, it's okay. It's okay. It's not the greatest. We would have wanted to see this come out at least, in an ideal world, this would have come out with 16 gigabytes out of the gate. But, NVIDIA has to make money, and they have to be able to sell you more products in the future. So sometimes, they purposely underdeliver on certain products, feature sets, just like the 3070 before this 4070 in the previous generation, so that, the succeeding years, they can have a better offering that are they able to sell to people. And I don't know, that's a little scummy, but it is what it is. There's lots of NVIDIA fanboys and fangirls out there, and it is what it is. But yeah, anyway, before I digress even further, what did you think of my list? Is this 94,000 peso high-end gaming PC build something you would buy if you were building a PC right now? What would you have done differently? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, please do consider leaving a like and maybe even subscribing if you want to see more of this kind of stuff. Yeah, again, my name is Joer, and this is my channel, Joer Builds. This is the first time I've actually done something like this, like going over a list of components, over what kind of, balanced build we could come out with, and I think this turned out pretty good. If not, let me know in the comments below, and let's talk about it. All right, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.